welcome you to another live edition of The Sports Box, your go-to sports podcast featuring great content, conversation, and your occasional disagreement. Stick around to interact and ask questions. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports, located on the White Horse Pike in Hamilton, New Jersey. Showcase Sports for the elite players. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
What's up, everyone? It is draft week. You've made it to draft week. We are just 48 hours away. Well, 48 hours and 15 minutes because they're going to waste the 15. On the first pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, we have the Sports Box preview tonight. I am Brian Attard along with Mike Galetta, Alex Krogan, Drew Trammell, Anthony Morello will be on at some point as well. And guys, this is my favorite week of the NFL year. It is actually so much more exciting than the actual game itself. This is actually fun for me. I love the draft. There's nothing better. How fired up are the three of you for draft week?
Oh, man, I'll start it off. I am extremely fired up. I can't even talk right. I can't wait. It's exciting. This year is really intriguing because this is nothing like last year. I really don't know who is going in the top 10 100%. I don't even know who's going to go to the top 5. I mean, we got talks today of the Jaguars arguing against themselves on wanting to get Adrian Hutchinson. Let them be the idiots that they are. If they want to go somewhere else, then that's fine with me. It just gives us another player for the Chargers at 17, something that we don't expect. That's fine with me, man. You want to be an idiot? Be an idiot. I can't wait. I'm excited. It's our second year doing it with the Sports Box, which is even better, and I cannot wait. I just can't wait.
Alex, your team has no pick in this draft, so do you even care?
Listen, my excitement is a little quelled in the fact that I pretty much know who our first round pick is, right? It's Deshaun Watson, right? So it's him for the next 3 years, right? So let's hope that his play goes back to what it was prior to the allegations, and if it does, then he was well worth the 3 first-round picks. Because that means we make playoffs at least 2 out of the next 3 years. I don't know about this year because I don't know what the suspension handed down is going to be. If he does get suspended, if they wait until they've gathered all the evidence, who knows what Goodell's going to do, right? So, not to say though that they're going all in. I don't know if they're going all in this year, but it's starting to get expensive to keep these guys that we have on this talent roster. I mean, we already let go of Mike Keller this year, which is a huge loss, right? So, they might be a dark horse to maybe come in at the later end of the first round if they really feel that there's somebody that's fallen that really helps us out. So I'm excited. I always love the first round draft. The first round, it's where obviously the most talent is. It's fun to see teams reach for quarterbacks as we've done many times. So it's exciting for sure. It is less exciting not having a designated first round pick this year, but I'm still excited to see what the Jags do. Obviously, that news today I think is hilarious. I'm most intrigued about Detroit at 2. What are they going to do? But we'll get into it later. Let Mike go.
Mike, the Bucs actually, they're going to make a pick.
They are. Who's got the zoo going on at the house?
Oh, that's true.
Jeez.
It's always me. Sorry.
That's all right. So no, I'm excited for the Bucs. They pick later in the draft, just like they did last year, obviously. But they need some cornerback. They need some defensive back help considering they lost Whitehead in the offseason. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. Maybe they go a different route, but I think they're definitely got a defensive back, and I'm excited to see who they're going to get. Another good year, I think, for the Bucs. They got rid of some guys. They had some cap casualties. Looks like Gronk hasn't signed yet, but I'm hoping. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Bucs and for the upcoming draft. Should be a different draft than we normally see with the big quarterbacks and things like that. Not a lot of quarterbacks going to be taken in the first round. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a good lineman draft and a lot of good players for a lot of good teams.
And the draft guru, that's a self-proclaimed title. I'm not going to confirm or deny that. But
Does that matter?
Welcome to the show, brother. We're talking about the excitement of draft week. You and I don't know if you agree. I think the draft week is much more fun than pretty much weeks 1 through 17. That's just me. How excited are you for draft week? As the draft guru, I might add.
Brian, you know how excited I am. I live for this, and sorry, I couldn't hear you that well. I mean, this is the pinnacle of the NFL offseason. It's a blast. Love getting together with my friends every single year to watch it. There's nothing better, and it's all weekend. So you go from Thursday to Saturday, and there's no break, except for going to work. That's it.
Right.
Absolutely love it. I'm super stoked. Eagles have 2 picks for the first time, I think, in my life. So I'm ready to go.
Well, we'll kick it off. Obviously, Jacksonville's at 1. And for the first time since 2017 and just the 6th time since the millennium, a quarterback's not going to go at 1. You think back to the 6 names, and I know that, Alex will remember at least 1. Actually 2, I think. Courtney Brown in 2000, Mario Williams in 2006, Jake Long in 2008, Eric Fisher in 13, Jadeveon Clowney in 14, and Myles Garrett in 17. The only non-quarterbacks to go number 1 since the year 2000. And we know that's not going to be Jacksonville because they took Trevor Lawrence last year. So they're in a great spot in that they don't need a quarterback. But that does open yourself up to what the hell do you need? Because you're picking first overall again for the 2nd straight year, but you got your quarterback. So, Drew, I'll start with you. When you look at a team like Jacksonville, I mean, you need next to everything, and you really can't mess. So what do you do here?
You go for the for sure pick, and it's Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, I'm not gonna goof around. New head coach, new regime. Go with the guy that is the overall consensus. That's gonna, basically is the dude that's gonna be the pass rusher that they're talking about. Elite first step. He, did some tape on him. I like what I see from him. There's the Trayvon Walker's a project I think that could benefit you in the long run, but it's Aiden Hutchinson, man. That's the guy you need, and I think Peterson is not going to be an idiot. He's not going to be like Urban Meyer, and it's you got to give the pick. You got to get this pick right, and I think if he goes to Aiden Hutchinson, there's no ifs or buts about it. That was an overall consensus pick. Make it safe, make it smart. Don't be dumb. Don't outthink yourself, like Alex said earlier. This is got to be your guy.
Anthony?
That's tough to say. I mean, personally, I would go with an offensive lineman. I like Aiden Hutchinson. I like Trayvon Walker. I think Walker's got more upside than Hutchinson does, but I would play it super safe here because they're not in a position where they can really take a lot of risks, in my opinion, the way this franchise has been trending.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yes, congratulations, Brian. For all those who don't know, we'll have a little party.
Not football talk, but thank you.
But play it safe. Take your elite left tackle for the next 10 years that can block Trevor Lawrence's backside. And to me, that screams an Andy Reid pick, which is obviously where Doug Peterson's from. That's his tree. So go with the super safe Evan Neal or, Raquanu, somebody like that. But that's where I would go. I think they're going to wind up going with Walker because he's got more upside.
Alex?
Yeah. My only pause on Hutchinson is that there are 2 other guys probably going in this first round that played on that same defense. And in college football, that's a rarity unless you play at Alabama. So I take pause in the fact that he didn't have a great year before. He had a new defensive coordinator. Now there's 3 guys from this team, most likely from all accounts, going in the first round. That gives me pause. But when you look at the tape, he does flash. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I am of the consensus, though. I would go left tackle just because I know how important that position is. But he could be a Myles Garrett type guy where once every 10 years that you get a shot at a guy like this. So I think at the end of the day, Jacksonville's most likely going to go and stay with Hutchinson. I think they're going to talk themselves back into it, but it's tough for me because I'm a defense guy, right? So of course I want the defensive end. I want 2 stud defensive ends, right? So, like I said, there's some pause because of all the talent on that defense, and only having 1 year with that much production from all 3 of these guys that are most likely going in the first round. But I still would probably stick with Hutchinson, but I would not be shocked, and I kind of agree with Doug Peterson being from Andy's tree, that he might go left tackle here, and then that flips the whole draft on its head, right? Because now Hutchinson's available at 2. Does Detroit now go with Hutchinson? It's tough. They don't really have a pressing need at defensive end, but he's the highest rated player in this draft. So it's like, do you pass on a guy that you didn't think there was a chance you had? I don't know. Does it throw it all out of kilter? What does Detroit do at 2? That's why I think Detroit's the most interesting pick in this draft at 2. Like, what happens if Jacksonville balks at Hutchinson and goes in another direction?
Mike?
I think, I've seen mock drafts from with Walker going first, even Thibodeau up there in going that pick. But I think Jacksonville, I don't think they're an outside the box thinking team. They're gonna try to go off the board and do something.
Shameless plug for outside the box. Good.
I think they go with Hutchinson. I think he's the pick for them, defensive end that's got some speed, like Alex said, flash off the end. They got to stop somebody, Jacksonville, eventually. I know you can put a lot of weapons into the offensive line and protect Lawrence, and I've always been a guy to say protect your investment. But in the same sense, this is a guy who I think you can't let slide the 2. You got to get up and grab him and try to start rebuilding some of that defense to help this Jacksonville team, to help Lawrence out, stay in games, so he doesn't have to throw for like a Jameis Winston game and have to throw like 4 or 5 touchdowns a game to stay in the game. So I think Hutchins is definitely the pick for them.
It seems like it's going to be Walker, but I wonder if that's a mistake. Like, I wonder, like, did they just fall in love with a player and they just taking a guy? I mean, Thibodeau, for example, was like the guy forever for months. And then all of a sudden that didn't happen. And then it was Hutchinson. And then you say, oh, well, now Trayvon Walker is the odds-on favorite to go number 1. And because there isn't the consensus one, like, again, this is one of those years where, we'll talk about trades and stuff, but in a way, Jacksonville and the Jets kind of got a little bit shafted because they were not able to then trade down, accumulate more picks because they didn't need a quarterback, because the class is just not that great. And Mike, I agree with you in that they do need to address their offensive line if they intend to keep Trevor upright. But at the same time, their defense allowed 6,000 yards last year. So you need to address both sides of the ball. And that's why I think if they could trade down, they would. And I think that we're going to be saying that for a number of teams. Now, David Jones says Thibodeau should still be the guy. And that's an interesting take. I don't necessarily disagree with him, but it's because there's no consensus one, which is why I wouldn't want the 1. Drew, go ahead.
And the reason why, let's just be real about it. Trevor Lawrence last year struggled because he had a head coach that was too busy finger banging chicks out in other clubs, and focusing on his team. I'm sorry, guys, but let's just be real. We're the sports box. We're going to talk how it is. He was the wrong hire.
So what's wrong with that?
He was the wrong hire.
If you're winning, it's fine.
Schematically,
Right.
He was absolutely garbage. This guy runs away from any problems. He was a complete distraction for Trevor Lawrence and for this offense and for the team in totality. It was terrible. So you bring in Doug Peterson, that's already upgrading your offense regardless of what you get in this draft.
Great point.
It's that simple. You're going to have better game plans. He's going to be ready. Trevor Lawrence is going to be more pro-ready in these first 4 weeks than he was the entire last season. That's the difference maker. He's going to improve on the offensive line, the audibles, the calls, the blitzes, and all that stuff. He's going to help them with that. So, like you just said, Brian, 6,000 yards, that has to be addressed. And this team, this organization is famous for letting go of good players. I mean, you need a defense to help your rookie. I understand offensive line is very important. As a guy who was a component of Slater last year, who helped Herbert a lot, and who I am currently preaching to get the other side fixed and get a right tackle for Herbert because of what happened with Max Crosby destroying us in Week 18. So I'm all about offensive line, defensive line. I just think for Doug Peterson's sake, you got to get the most, like, you know what I'm saying, the consensus pick. And that guy, like Alex said earlier, this is a guy that flashes across your screen. And I think that Adrian Hutchinson is going to be that dude for them. And it's a safe pick. You're not rocking the boat.
I think what they're looking at too, real quick, is Walker is from the national championship team. And, you know, you try not to talk yourself out of something like that. Michigan was a good team this year, and whether they win national championship, I definitely think, Adrian's the guy. But again, I don't think Jacksonville's the kind of team that's going to talk themselves out of a pick or try to go off the board and do something like something different than what everybody else sees. And I think Hutchinson is the pick.
But I think, I'd be remiss. They know who they're taking. Like, this is not going to be a decision that they're going to make at the end. And I don't think anybody's really offering them anything to move up. Like, I think this is probably going to be Travon Walker, for better or for worse. Again, I just think that.
So to touch on that point, there's a lot of rumors out there that Shad and Balky are kind of not arguing over who to take, but there is two different sides here that they don't know if apparently Shad wants Hutchinson and apparently Balky wants Travon Walker. And, you know, owner, does he sign off on it? I don't know. It's going to be interesting dilemma there. And somebody said, why don't you just have Doug Peterson flip the coin and then, you know, there you go. That's your guy.
That is a solid way of running a football team. Just flip the coin.
Right? Flip the coin. When it's that close.
Shock you.
I just think that this is, I mean, look, rocket science here, right? Number one pick in the draft is really important, but this is a really important pick for Jacksonville because how many times have they been top 10 of a draft? They take a player. They've had a very high bust rate for one, and the guys who've panned out have left.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm a big, you know, draft. I'm not going to change my mindset. And they're, what about Jacksonville? Well, the problem is Jacksonville sucks at drafting, and then B, can't keep the guys that pan out. So they need, and I wonder if a guy like Walker, maybe the injury said he'd be committed to Jacksonville, wouldn't want to pull a Jalen Ramsey and demand he be traded. You don't know. You don't know when you have a smallish market like that, that does matter. Drew.
How about Hutchinson maybe wants to stay in Michigan?
What I do agree with Ant though, and with the rumors, if they are true, Brian, because you know this is the season of liars, so we can get a lot of smoke and mirrors. But what Ant is saying would make a lot of sense if a team wanted to jump to one, and let's just say it's the idiotic Houston Texans, and they wanted to jump to one. I'm just playing, and they offer Jags 2 first-round picks. Would you? I would take that.
Absolutely.
If you're not 100% sure that Aiden Hutchinson is the guy, fall back and then get your guy that you want to get at 3. If someone is going to offer that, obviously that's not going to happen. But I'm saying if someone did, I would make that move. If you're 50-50, I make the move back.
Yep.
So
I completely agree. I mean, that's right. I mean, when you have no consensus, you're better off moving down. Let somebody fall to you. Interesting wrinkle in this year's draft, guys, is there are 8 teams that will have multiple first-round picks coming into this draft. The Lions, the Packers, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Saints, the Giants, the Jets, and the Eagles. Now, I know what Ant's answer is going to be, so I'm going to go to Ant last because it's obvious. But when you look at it and you say, which of these teams do you think is the most interesting as to what they can do with multiple ones? And to be honest with you guys, I don't remember a time when there were 4 teams that had multiple ones. So to have 8 teams, it feels like the way that the draft picks are moved around in the league, like we're entering a time where they're not as protected value as maybe they used to be. that's a good and a bad thing in some ways. I mean, I can see pros and cons to it. But Mike, I'll start with you here. When you look at these 8 teams with the multiple ones, who stands out to you and says like they can really do some damage with this?
Well, I mean, you look at Detroit that can make some noise, but and rebuild this team, but they haven't done a good job in the past couple of years. I think the most interesting is New Orleans, to be honest with you, because I think one of those 2 picks should be a quarterback. You got Jameis Winston down there. You got Hill, who doesn't seem to be that kind of guy unless they want to roll with him. I think you got to get a quarterback in one of those 2 picks, maybe the later of the 2. Then you can turn to the Giants as well, where they need some help a little bit. But I'm going to say New Orleans. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They got some wide receiver issues. Their defense, they have Malcolm Jenkins retiring. They're going to need another defensive back there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think New Orleans is my look at.
Alex?
To me, honestly, it's Green Bay. Do they finally give Aaron Rodgers some extra firepower on that offense? I mean, they have 2 picks. Do they package them together and try and go get a Garrett Wilson or one of these top echelon wide receivers? Do they just attack it from a more is better standpoint, and do they take 2 wide receivers in the first round, right?
No, Alex, they're going to draft Kenny Pickett. Come on.
Anyways, how well did that work out with Love? I don't think they drafted another quarterback until Aaron Rodgers is retired.
I would die, dude.
The name Jordan Love has been coming in my conversations at least 5 times a week at this point.
Oh, yeah, easily, right? Remember what I said when they drafted him. How nice would it have been to have another defensive piece or offensive piece in that run against Tom Brady in that game? What if they win that game? They probably win the Super Bowl, right? So it was the most idiotic pick maybe in the history of NFL, and that includes Ryan Leaf and all these busts. Like, it just was dumb, beyond dumb, right?
It was pretty bad.
But yeah, I honestly think it's Green Bay just because of the potential with the back-to-back reigning MVP. He's obviously still in his prime. Now, his playoff struggles, if you will, are what they are, but he's still a bad man in the regular season, right? The Peyton Manning of this era, if you might say, does a lot in the regular season, not much in the playoffs. But, let's see. I really think Green Bay, to me, is the most intriguing. I want to see what their take is on this and if they do have some traction to move up, because I really think they are looking to move up. I really think they need to replace Devontae Adams. If they don't, they're back to mediocre at best without him, because he's 80% of that offense to me is the matchup, right? Whether you're doubling him, all the focus was on him. And now that he's not there, I hate to say I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers because he's pretty much a jerk from all accounts and has a lot of money and MVPs and everything to go with it. But does he re-sign if he knew 100% Adams is leaving? I don't know. So
True.
Well, they talked to him. He knew that going into the extension.
He had an idea, right?
He wanted money. It's that
Right.
simple. He got. Okay, that's another conversation the other day. Mike, I disagree with you on New Orleans. I just got to throw it out there real quick, buddy. I love you with all my heart, but I got to disagree with you. Next year's crop of quarterbacks that are coming out, New Orleans don't need to be wasting no picks on these whack-ass quarterbacks that are coming in this draft. I'm just kidding. I think they would be better served fixing that offensive line. Definitely agree with you on getting a receiver. They need to get a guy like Garrett Wilson to line him up opposite of Michael Thomas, because Michael Thomas I still think has some good years left in him. If it slants, he's good to go. But looking on to what I think is interesting is the Kansas City Chiefs. They have back-to-back picks. I'm looking at a guy like Pickens. Am I saying it right, Alex? Pickens, the receiver from Georgia, right? He's from Georgia. I'm working on my college. I don't watch college that much. I think he's the guy that they could be targeting that can come in and be instant value for them on their offense. Maybe a guy like Sky Moore. It might be a little bit of a reach, but that's someone I would look into. Also, a corner. There's a guy from Florida that I like a lot, Aline, I think is his last name. Those are guys I'm looking at where I think Andy is gonna make those picks. The only other thing that I think that could be interesting that we could see happening in the draft is if Casey packages these picks and goes for a guy like Deebo Samuel. And if that is the case, and that is something that we could see in the draft, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Andy Reid and just making that move, because I could definitely see it happen. And I guarantee you Deebo was signed probably for less than what they were offering Tyreek Hill, or match what Tyreek Hill was, what they offered Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, that's, if they do that, that's going to make them really just back up what they were before. So that's
a scary guy to have in Andy Reid's offense, man. His versatility is scary.
I agree. So that's something to be scary about. So those are something I'm definitely interested in. And not to take Ant's thunder, but Philadelphia is, you always have to put him in there. Ever since the whole debacle of Justin Jefferson and all that stuff. So I'm not trying to rain down on Anthony's parade. I mean, it's just facts, dude. Like can Philadelphia make the two right picks? It's do they have three? They have two, right? Or
two? They have two now. They traded.
It's not Philly. It's can Howie not be a clown? Is what it really is.
I agree with you. And when I look at it, and I can't wait to hear what Anthony has to say. When I look at it, the two guys that really just spark up to me for them is getting a linebacker in Devin Lloyd, who I'm really high on. I will love the Chargers to get. And another cat is a receiver, in which if Garrett is there, which I don't think he will be, would be huge. But also a guy like Jameson Williams, I think, who could falter because of his torn ACL. They have him, going everywhere in the first top 15. But if he falls